Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, colleagues, for your attentiveness during this debate that we're having here. I was one of those who voted for 267, much to the chagrin of some of my colleagues on the right, but because of some of the things that were in it, and I refer to 267 as the casserole bill, because there's just a whole lot of everything in it. And maybe a lesson that my dad taught me many years ago: when you look at something like a casserole, it's not what it is, it's what it was. And if you look at what was in this bill, if we'd looked at what it was, we wouldn't have gotten in the bind that we're in today. I wish that I could say that I voted for 267 because it lowered taxes. I mean, when I go and talk to my people, they say, "You lowered taxes. That's a bonus." You guys don't do that too often. I say, "Well, that's true, but we kind of created a problem in doing that." So I would really like to say that I voted for it because it reduced taxes, but it couldn't do it. As Representative Pabon said, we just missed it on what was in there. What we did not miss in that bill, however, was the hospital provider fee, the financial assistance of rural schools, $1.8 billion for transportation. The list goes on and on. That's why I refer to it as a casserole. On May 30th, Senate Bill 267 was signed into law. Into law. So no matter what it was before, it now is what it is. And that's what was placed on our table, was that casserole. By law, the 2.9% was repealed, ended, terminated. Don't get me wrong, I feel for the red pandas. I feel for the Republican Transportation Democrat, or whatever RTD stands for. It's been bandied around enough I've forgotten now. I feel for all the cultural facilities. Seriously, I do, because we messed up and put them in a bind. I understand that. However, I feel more strongly for Article 10, Section 20, Paragraph 4 of the Constitution of the State of Colorado. I personally would love to see the 2.9% reinstated. There's got to be a way that we can do that, because we didn't think about it. And now we're debating, well, whether or not they can survive without it and whether the rules can survive without it. We wouldn't have had this debate if we would have checked the ingredients before. This is the first time in 5 years that I've ever seen a bill go through that such an important thing was overlooked by everybody. I don't know how that happened. Could have something to do with a lot of important legislation that gets shoved through in the last 2 weeks of the session instead of talking about it from the first 2 weeks, but that's just a footnote to that. I do not want to reinstate that 2.9% by maneuvering around Article 10, Section 20, Paragraph 4. I want to see us do it through the Constitution. I am a rural advocate. Surprise, that's no surprise to any of you that have been around here. I am a rural advocate. But first and foremost, I want to point out that I am only a rural advocate because of what the Constitution allows me to do, both at the state and federal level. And I can tell you, in my career, I've made enough mistakes in my life to kind of be an expert on fixing them. Whether that be growing up, I made a lot of them as a kid. That was one of the things that I always was amazed when my brother and I would overhaul an engine, whether that be on a lawnmower or a motorcycle or whatever, and we'd end up with parts left over. That didn't work out well. Whereas an educator in the classroom, when I would assume that a student had studied for the test and had prepared for the test and he flunked the test, and I couldn't figure out why until I asked him. He said, "Mr. Wilson, I sat up outside my mother's door to keep my dad from beating her last night." Mistakes, mistakes. Whereas the superintendent making assumptions. One thing I did learn in that is when I rapidly tried to correct the first mistake I made, I tended to make another one. This oversight can be corrected, but let's not make another mistake. Let's not skirt the Constitution in order to do it. But Rep. Wilson, we have opinions supporting our position. Folks, opinions are just like behinds. We've all got them. Let's not put our behinds in a bind with someone else's opinion. Let's fix this the right way. This bill is not the way to do it. Thank you.